Today, my guest is Mike Wohl, the regional owner of EXIT Realty in New England. Mike oversees operations across Massachusetts, Vermont, Maine, and New Hampshire, leading the brand's expansion in the region. Before this, he held key executive roles, including COO at Coastal Ridge Real Estate, and played major roles in launching Sonesta ES Suites Hotel brand. Mike, could you dive deeper into your role at EXIT Realty before we get into the business and your journey?
Sure, Roman, I'm happy to. So my role here is fairly simple. Half my job is looking for people who are interested in buying an Exit Realty franchise and opening up their own local real estate brokerage in their city and town. And the other half is supporting those people that have bought those franchises and helping them any way I can with branding, technology, training, really running their business. And that's what I do.
Great, yeah. And so, how do you find these people that you're outreaching? Like, what's the marketing strategy, or how do you find these leads of people that are looking to uh, make a franchise?
That's a good question. It's a little bit art and a little bit science.
Yeah,
We really have kind of cut our target groups into different categories. So not in any particular order, but one category could be an independently owned brokerage that just feels in today's environment it's a challenge to keep up with as rapidly as technology is changing, keeping up with the marketing and the branding. Just feel like that is a noose a little bit around them, and they want a little bit more support while being allowed to run their business the way that they would like to run it. So one of our mantras here in New England is that, we look for independently minded entrepreneurial people. I'm not here to tell any broker how to run their business. It's their business to run it. We're going to provide them with some infrastructure and some guidance, but it's really their business to run. So I kind of look at this as a very independent franchise. It's not something that, we're handing you a manual and saying, follow this to the T.
yeah, for sure.
So one group is independent brokers who may need a little bit more assistance on the back end. A second may be a branded franchise broker who's maybe a little disillusioned with the franchise they currently have. A third would be an agent who's ready to take on and open up their own brokerage. And as a subset of that, a team leader who may have a couple agents underneath them and is ready to really take their business to the next level. And we can kind of run the numbers for a team leader and show them that they're actually going to be more profitable running their own brokerage rather than being a team underneath someone else's brokerage. We've had a lot of success in kind of painting that picture for team leaders.
Yeah, for sure. And so, when you began Exit Realty, was that sort of the vision, was to just help these people with their marketing and their outreach and kind of like help guide them on their own journey?
I kind of got there on my own. I mean, I don't come from the real estate business.
Yeah,
So I purchased this company from a gentleman who was retiring, who did grow up in real estate. And the first thing I did when I kind of bought the region is I met with each of the individual franchisees who are the brokers of their individual office and asked them, what are the three things you'd like to see me working on? What are the three things you don't want me to mess up? And when I gathered all that information, it became pretty clear to me that where they really needed help was building the brand, recruiting new agents, running a profitable business. They didn't need my help in the tactical real estate execution of buying and selling a home. I mean, that they're
yeah,
professionals. They've been doing this their whole career. I'm not even suggesting I have the expertise to offer in that arena,
yeah,
but
yeah.
because they've been in real estate their whole year, there's certain experiences that I have that they don't have, and I try to help them, where they need help. They're all independently run businesses. They all have their own different individual markets. And so there's a little nuanced differences with each one. But I really like working with entrepreneurs. I've been attracted to that really since my childhood. My
Yeah.
father had his own business, and, I admire what they've done, the risks they've taken, how they've built their reputation in their local community. And I'll do anything I can to help them.
Yeah, sweet. I love that. I'm personally am starting my own kind of journey on that path right now. So, a little bit more about your background. Can you kind of dive into your career path and what kind of led you to buy this franchise?
Sure. Yeah, it's an interesting story. Like most careers of people, it's not a straight line. It takes you're a meandering river once you got to get out of college. So
Yeah.
I grew up in a retailing family, and I thought that's what I wanted to do, and started with a major retailer in the Midwest, where I went to school out of college, and did that for a few years. My dad was ready to retire, or at least he thought he was ready to retire. I went back and helped out in the family business. He wasn't quite ready to retire. I wasn't quite ready to settle down in my mid to late 20s in a small town. So we just agreed that this is probably not the right path for either one of us. And at that time, I was looking for something a little newer to do. And I stumbled into a brand new hotel concept called Residence Inn, which today most people know is a pretty big chain
Yeah.
domestically and internationally, but there was about 50 of them when I found them. And I started my journey in the hotel business with Residence Inn. I had a wonderful, wonderful experience. Went through a major acquisition when Marriott actually bought Residence Inn from its private owner. So went through that transition. Was only one of 7 people that was actually asked to go to Washington and work with Marriott with Residence Inn. So that was a great experience. And I found my time flipping back and forth between a sales and marketing role and an operations role. And my career kind of went back and forth between a corporate role and a field role. So I gained a lot of experience, worked with a lot of owners. And as my career progressed, I wound up working a lot with the franchisees with Marriott. And I really, really enjoyed that. And I got a lot out of it. And my career post Marriott continued to work with the franchisees. Jumping through a whole bunch of years here, but when I
Yeah.
moved to Boston and with Sonesta Hotels, who asked me to launch and run their Sonesta ES Suites brand, which was not working with franchisees, it was working with an institutional owner. And I wrote a kind of a 10-year business plan to myself of what I wanted to accomplish, and got that done in 6 or 7 years, and realized, you know what, I really missed the franchise side. I kind of want to get back into franchising some way or somehow. And I actually at the time thought I might be a franchisee of something,
Yeah.
and came close to one. Wound up working with a very good franchise lawyer who invited me to a seminar he was running, sat next to a business broker at that meeting, and through that, just luck of the draw, learned that there was this opportunity for sale in the
Yeah.
Boston area. And as I started doing my due diligence and learning about Exit Realty, it felt a lot like Residence Inn back, before Marriott bought it, when it was very entrepreneurial. Everybody knew everybody. I was really attracted to the support model, and decided to take the leap. And I bought this business in 2020.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's definitely a story. All going through a bunch of all of your experiences and kind of how it led you there. I like that you had the experience first franchising with Residence Inn, and then how that led you, and you just kind of found what you like to do, and you stuck to it.
Yeah, and I think that experience has served me well here because, it's running a geographically diverse region. It's working with other entrepreneurs and franchisees. I'm actually
Yeah.
considered a sub-franchisor. So I'm actually the franchisee of the parent company, and I'm a franchisor of the local offices in each of the communities here in New England. So I kind of
Got
get
it.
to work both sides. I get to dip my fingers in the sales pot, the operations pot, the growing a business pot. It's a good role for me.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. All right, so now I'm gonna move into some of the industry trends. So, what are some major shifts that you're seeing in your industry right now with franchising and or real estate?
Yeah, I'm going to deal more with the real estate side because I think there's a bigger shift and probably a more interesting story here.
Yeah.
I bought the business in 2020, right? So, right in the midst of COVID.
Yeah.
So, that was a risk in and of itself. It wound up being a good timing because once that happened, there was a lot of demand for people who wanted to take advantage of a work from home situation. And the real estate market kind of exploded at that time. So, my
Yeah.
timing was good from that perspective. Obviously, interest rates were historically low. It enabled people to make some moves that maybe they wouldn't have if those two situations, COVID and interest rates, weren't happening at the same time. So that was a very exciting time, very busy time. Jump ahead a couple of years, and what's happened is demand, the supply of homes on the market has really kind of shrunk to historically low levels. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of reasons for that. But the biggest reason is if you jump back almost 20 years of the last, economic downturn in the United States, a lot of homes from that point, 2007, 2008, 2009, after that, the growth of new supply of homes slowed down, and it hasn't really caught up over the last 15 years. So supply has shrunk, and demand has increased. So people your age coming into the market, maybe a little bit older than you, who are ready for their first home, there's a real shortage of homes on the market for people who are trying to get in as a first time home buyer, and probably buying homes lower than the medium home price in whatever market you're looking at. So that's probably the biggest trend happening in real estate. The second, and I'm going to call this a misperception, is that interest rates are high. Now, interest rates are high compared to where they were 3 or 4 years ago. But when you look back over the last 30, 40 years, they're really about the average interest rate over that time period. So
Yeah.
there's a perception that they're high. They're really not that high. And what we try to work with our clients with is, educating them on that, in that, if interest rates go down, you can always refinance your mortgage and,
Yeah,
and get a
exactly.
new interest rate, right? If interest rates go up, well, good news, you're locked in at the interest rate that you got when you bought your home. So
Hmm.
the interest rate really shouldn't slow down someone from buying a home. If you need a new home, you're having children, you're moving to a new community, whatever the case may be, it's a life event. It's where you're going to live your
Yeah.
life. So if you're renting long term, you're actually paying someone's mortgage and building equity. It's just not your own, right? You're paying your
Exactly.
landlord's mortgage, you're helping your landlord build equity.
Yeah.
But the great American dream is to own your own home, and
Yeah, for sure.
I think that's been the long-winded answer to your question. But that trend is probably the biggest piece, and I don't see supply loosening anytime soon, unfortunately.
Yeah, I know, and I totally agree with you. I kind of experienced that firsthand. When I was still living in the house last year in high school, me and my family moved from our house we lived in for a while, and we had to rent a house for a
Yeah,
year because the market was, there was nothing out there. So we had to spend a whole year looking for a house,
yeah.
but eventually we got one, obviously.
Well, there
But
you're living the trend right there.
exactly, yeah. Yeah, so Exit Realty has a unique model with single level residuals for
Yeah.
agents. How do you see that shaping the future with real estate businesses?
I don't know how much it's going to shape the difference outside of Exit. It's been a fantastic program for our agents here. And if you'll indulge me, I'll kind of share a little stories here, but
Yeah, go for it.
it's the only single level, not a multi-level, a single level, a residual bonus program where, if I invite you into Exit Realty, Roman, and I'm considered your sponsor, and I'm going to get a 10% bonus for every transaction you have up to your first $100,000 every single year. And there's no limit to how many people I can invite into Exit anywhere in North America. So those agents of ours that have taken advantage of that program and actively introduced agents to Exit Realty all over North America are gaining this additional income stream.
Yeah,
Which there's wonderful stories about how this money has paid for children's colleges, paid for family vacations, paid for investment properties, built retirement savings, whatever the case may be. And the beauty of our program is once you decide, hey, I want to slow down, maybe work part-time, maybe retire, that income stream does not turn off. So it just gets reduced a little bit. That's rare in real estate, that there's really everyone's an independent contractor, so there's no retirement program. This residual income program allows there to be retirement income. And then the third level of this program is, we're all going to pass someday, and that income stream will continue. As long as the agents that you
yeah,
sponsored are still with Exit, that income stream continues, and you're able to pass that income stream. Again, it's a little bit lower, but you can pass that income stream, onto your beneficiaries. So, it's a really valuable program. There's people in our company that have had some setbacks and illnesses, and having that income still there has made all the difference in the world. So, I don't know how much it's going to change the industry. It's
yeah,
really going to change people's lives who understand how it works and are attracted to what we have to offer. That's our biggest selling point.
yeah. I mean, I can imagine that's a very good program that you have going, and it definitely attracts a lot of people, and they see the opportunity that they have there, and
Yeah.
yeah,
And what we found also is a lot of people your age actually understand the power of residual income more so than maybe people my age who didn't grow up with it. So,
Yeah,
this is a way to make money when you sleep.
yeah,
And
passive.
I would encourage anyone who's interested to at least do some research, take a look at it, and make the best decision for you.
Yeah, definitely. So now with the rise of tech-driven real estate solutions and AI and all of that, how do you see that, if at all, what you do with franchising or real estate?
Yeah, again, I think more of a real estate part than a specific franchising part,
Yeah,
but like any technology, it's going to assist the human to do the job more efficiently. It's not going to replace the human. This is, if you take a step back in the world of residential real estate, for most people, this investment is the biggest investment they're going to make in their life. They're not going to write a check any bigger. They're not going to have an asset worth anymore. Not only that financially, but emotionally, it's where you live and raise your family.
yeah,
So, the real estate agent really acts as an advisor and an expert professional to help you guide you through the process of identifying the right home at the right price, help you negotiate the deal, handle all the administration, protect yourself from all the disclosures that have to be there so that this doesn't come back and bite you later because some skip or some step was skipped along the way. So the agent provides an extremely valuable role for their clients, and I don't see any piece of technology replacing that.
yeah,
Now,
for
with
sure.
that said, AI can certainly assist the agent to be quicker, to help get materials out better, to take repeatable tasks and template them and so forth. So, the best agents certainly have incorporated AI into
Mhm.
their daily workload, but I don't think it'll ever replace the real estate agent.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's like you said, it's pretty much the most important part is making a connection and understanding, the people that you're serving and trying
Yes.
to get them a house
Yes.
for sure.
Yep.
Definitely. But the solutions can definitely get, automated a little bit as well. So now I'm going to move into the current state of Exit Realty and what you
Sure.
guys are doing now.
Sure.
So, what's working well for you guys right now, and what has been challenging?
What's working well for us is taking the tools we have and the people we have and supporting them to really raise their level of production, of satisfaction, of profitability. I think I'm very proud of our brokers and agents that we have. Most of them really enjoy being with us and embrace the tools we have to offer. And there's a great story to be told there. So that's the good news, right? The challenge has been trying to get that message across to people who aren't with Exit Realty, who maybe aren't that familiar with who we are. And, we try to do that one agent, one broker, one town at a time. So,
Yeah,
we're constantly trying to get our message across, meet with people, have our people meet with people, and really take a very organic approach to introducing people to our brand. We're not trying to be the biggest, we're just trying to find the right people who fit within
yeah,
our culture. We're a very collaborative real estate company. If you come in, you're not going to, it's not a sink or swim situation. It's not a you battling and elbowing the agent next to you for the next lead. It's working together. It's working with your broker. We're kind of all in this together. So some people really like a more competitive environment. Some people like a more collaborative environment.
yeah,
So, we're fairly selective of who we bring in. But, those that are with us are pretty happy and stay, pretty much a good chunk of their career with Exit.
for sure. Yeah, and how are you going about reaching out to these people? I know we talked a little bit about that in the beginning, but are you using certain marketing tactics or anything to find those specific people?
Yeah, we use a variety. We reach out with, old fashioned. A lot of it's old fashioned, right? It's making some phone calls. It's meeting
Yeah,
people at industry events. It's shooting out some notes. It's posting on social media. There's not one specific way we do it. Everyone's a little bit different of how they consume information and how they like to get it. So, we try to get our message out there a variety of different ways. Again, it's very organic. When we can kind of tell, I think, on both sides when we find the right match.
yeah,
And when that happens, it's usually a pretty good conversation.
yeah, definitely. And now, kind of going into some future goals for you guys. So, where do you see Exit Realty being in the next 6 to 12 months?
In the next 6 or 12 months, I think it's just helping our agents and our brokers, maneuver through a challenging marketplace the best that we can, giving them access to the tools, really giving them access to each other so they can kind of share best practices, ask questions of each other. They're going to get much more out of an agent in a town the next state over than they're going to get from me.
Yeah,
So making sure that I'm helping them connect to each other and they can share those ideas. So I think, in the short term, that's probably where my focus is. The long term focus is much more around growing our brand and getting more offices open in New England. It's not something where if I meet you tomorrow, you're ready to sign a contract with me the following week, right?
yeah,
So, it may take us 6 months to a year to get everything in line that you're at this point in your career that you're ready. And then, I'm going to help you get your office open as quickly as possible. Short term, it's really shoring up the confidence level of our agents and brokers. And long term, it's finding more agents and brokers and expanding our footprint inside New England.
definitely. Love it. Great to hear. And are there any specific innovations or strategies that you're planning on implementing to get to that point?
We're about to launch our first white paper that we've had a real great success story of a new broker in our region. So we're going to, share that story. That's not new to the industry or new to marketing, but it's new for us. So we're
Yeah,
excited to get that white paper out. We keep experimenting, with different places to go in social media and tracking our successes so that we're using our money the most efficient way that we can. So we've had a lot more success with LinkedIn as an example than we've had with Facebook. So, we'll be expanding our footprint and our presence more in LinkedIn, not abandoning Facebook, but we just found a little bit more success on the franchise sales part in the LinkedIn platform. So,
definitely.
that's an example. It's a lot of tweaks and adjustments versus trying to reinvent the wheel and make it explosion.
Yeah, for sure. And then if you had one like major challenge in your business right now today that you could solve and would make the business run way smoother, what would that be?
More homes in inventory, some way that incentivized developers to manufacture or build not only more homes, but more of a 2,000, 2,500 square foot starter home.
Yeah.
Economically, that's a challenge for developers, especially here in New England where land costs are very high to build a smaller home on a footprint of land. But
Yeah.
that's where the demand is, right? I mean, most of my career, supply has always chased demand.
Hmm.
That if there's a demand for a product, somebody figures out a way to service that demand, and that's where they become successful.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that so far here. There's a lot of demand for smaller starter homes, but the economic conditions haven't allowed the supply to catch up to that demand as of yet. On multifamily, have on building condos and building multifamily multifamily housing, but I think the consumer really wants a smaller single family home. So to wave the magic wand would be figuring out a way that developers are attracted to making that investment.
Yeah, for sure. And are you seeing that being, getting the market more fluid and then more buying and selling, or are you seeing that as be like constructing more of those homes?
Oh, it's definitely constructing more of those homes. Yeah, I mean, if a house comes on the market, there's enough demand that's going to get swallowed up pretty quickly. In certain seasons, typically the spring and summer, traditionally more homes come on the market at that time than the fall and winter. So as we're heading into the summer months, I think we may see that. But the real long-term problem is a question of more inventory in the marketplace.
For sure. Got it. And then I have one final question that I do on all of my podcasts. What has been one book that has been most impactful for your journey as a business leader?
That's an easy one. Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. I gave both my kids that book. I encourage anyone, if it's a great business, it's got a lot of common sense,
Yeah.
you know, just basic good lessons to learn. So
Yeah.
I read that one probably in my 20s, and I still follow. I'd like to think I follow all 7 habits. The reality is I probably follow a couple of them as I've gotten older. But that's an easy answer.
Yeah. Well, hold on one second. I have that book. I'm gonna grab
There
it
you
real
go. You
quick.
read it. There's the question.
Yeah. Sorry, but
That's okay. one thing to
Um,
have the book. The question is, have you read the book?
yeah, so I actually, it's my
There
book
it
when
is.
I just started reading this,
Did you? Great.
which is crazy enough. But I've been starting to read some books recently, because I feel like that's something that would benefit me a lot, and so that's crazy that I actually just started reading this the
That's
other
great.
day.
And I encourage that, Roman. I guess one other, you haven't asked the question, but I'll throw it out there anyway. And I encourage my agents the same piece is, you
Yeah.
know, in today's culture, it's kind of popular to read little snippets, right?
Mm,
But you're not going to learn from little snippets. You're going to learn from reading an article, reading a book,
yeah.
taking your time to absorb the message. And the reality is who are going to be successful, that's what they're going to do. And if everyone else isn't doing it, good for them, because, or better for you that they're not, because
Yeah.
if you take the time to read that article, read that book, whatever it may be, I think you're going to be much further ahead.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's the goal, is just to soak in as much information as I
Yep,
can.
you're right.
Yeah, totally. Well, I appreciate you for jumping on the call and taking the time to talk about your business with me. It was great to meet you, great to talk to you, and yeah, thank you.
Thanks for asking me, Roman.
Yeah,
Best of luck to you.
thank you.